So I just finished this book called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And honestly, it messed with my head in the best way possible. Like I was expecting some boring finance book about stocks and returns and whatever, but it's not about that at all. It's about how our brains work with money. Why do people make terrible financial decisions, even when they're super smart? Why do millionaires go broke? And the author basically says, one thing that changes everything. Doing well with money has almost nothing to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. A genius can be a financial disaster, but an ordinary person with decent habits, they can become incredibly wealthy. Let me tell you two stories that show exactly what he means. Story 1. The Janitor and the Banker. The janitor, aka Ronald Reed. This guy was nobody special. Seriously, he was a janitor. Swept floors at JCPenney for 17 years. Fixed cars at a gas station for 25 years. He bought a small house for $12,000 when he was 38 and lived there his whole life. His main hobby was chopping firewood. He dies in 2014 at age 92. And then the news breaks. He left $8 million to his local hospital and library. Like, where did he even get that money? No inheritance, no lottery, no secret. He just saved money, invested it in regular blue chip stocks. Then he waited for decades, and his tiny savings turned into $8 million through compounding. Richard Fosconi, complete opposite guy, Harvard education, MBA, worked at Merrill Lynch as an executive, so successful he retired in his 40s to become a philanthropist. Fortune magazine put him on their 40 under 40 list. He bought a $90,000 a month mansion in Greenwich, like $90,000 a month just to maintain it. 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools, 7 garages, then 2008 happened. Financial crisis, his massive debt and illiquid assets meant he lost everything. 5 months before Ronald Read left his $8 million to charity, Richard Fosconi's mansion got sold in a foreclosure auction for 75% less than it was worth. So here's the thing. Ronald Read was patient. Richard Fosconi was greedy. That's literally it. That's what separated them. Not intelligence, not education, not connections. Patience versus greed. Chapter 1. No One's Crazy. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The book's first chapter is called No One's Crazy. And the author makes this point that I think applies to everything. Your personal experiences with money, they're like 0.0000001% of everything that's happened in the world. But they make up maybe 80% of how you think the world actually works. Think about it. If your grandpa lived through the 1950s where you could buy a house with your first job, he probably thinks real estate is a guaranteed investment. That makes sense for his experience. Your parents maybe lived through economic booms and recessions, so they're cautious. Probably told you to get a stable job. You grew up in the internet age. You probably think you can start a business or build a YouTube channel. That's normal to you. None of you are wrong. You're all just rational in different contexts. The author gives this example. Your parents don't understand why you want to start a YouTube channel instead of getting a real job. They're not being dumb. They're operating from their experience where that actually worked. But you think they're old-fashioned. Why? Because you grew up in a different economic reality. The big lesson: don't judge people's financial decisions too harshly. You haven't lived their life, they haven't lived yours. Everyone's doing the best they can with what they've experienced. Chapter 2. Luck and Risk. Bill Gates versus Kent Evans. The second chapter talks about something most people don't want to admit. Luck matters. A lot. The author tells the story of Bill Gates. Everyone knows he's a genius, right? Started Microsoft, changed the world. But here's what people don't talk about. In 1968, when Gates was in 8th grade, his high school one of maybe 300 schools in the entire world, had a computer. Most universities didn't have anything as advanced as what Bill Gates had access to as a teenager. The math? There were 303 million high school students in the world. About 300 of them went to Lakeside School, where Bill could tinker with computers all day. 1 in a million, Gates himself said, if there had been no Lakeside, there would have been no Microsoft. Now here's the thing that hits different. Bill had a best friend named Kent Evans. Just as smart, just as skilled with computers. Same school, same opportunity. But Kent died in a mountaineering accident before he graduated high school. The odds of being killed in a mountaineering accident in high school? About 1 in a million. So Bill Gates experienced 1 in a million luck. Kent Evans experienced 1 in a million risk. Same magnitude, opposite directions. The point. Success isn't just about intelligence and hard work. It's also about being on the right side of luck. And failure isn't always stupidity. Sometimes it's just being on the wrong side of risk. This should make you humble about your own success and compassionate about other people's failures. Chapter 3. Never Enough. The Goalpost Problem. There's a story the author tells about a billionaire investor named John Bogle. At a party, a hedge fund manager brags to the author that he made more money in a single day than a famous author made from an entire best-selling book. The author responds, "Yeah, but I have something he'll never have. Enough." And the author was struck by that word. Because here's the trap almost everyone falls into. You think, if I just have $100,000 saved, I'll be happy. You reach $100,000. Then you think, actually, I need $500,000. You get there. Now it's $1 million, then $5 million, and on and on. The goalpost keeps moving. This is happening in your life right now. You want a new phone, you get it. Suddenly you want the latest model, you start earning $1,000 a month. Soon you want $3,000, a family wants a car, they get one. Then they want a bigger SUV. It never stops. And here's the crazy part. Even billionaires feel this. There are people worth billions of dollars who still feel poor. Why? Because they compare themselves to people worth even more. The author gives examples of ultra-wealthy people who committed crimes, insider trading, fraud, and other schemes, because they wanted to move from one wealthy circle to an even wealthier one. One example is Rajat Gupta. He was worth around $100 million. He could have retired and lived an extraordinary life, but he wanted to join the billionaire ranks. He became involved in insider trading, went to prison, and lost much of what he had built. The lesson: the hardest financial skill isn't earning the highest return or making the biggest income. It's getting the goalpost to stop moving. Because happiness is results minus expectations. And if your expectations keep rising faster than your achievements, you'll never feel like you have enough. Chapter 4. Compounding: Why Starting Early Matters. Okay, so there's this concept called confounding compounding, or just compounding, and it's probably the most powerful thing in the book. The author uses ice ages to explain it, which sounds weird, but stick with me. Scientists used to think ice ages happened because of huge volcanic eruptions or mountain range shifts. But then they realized the real cause was way simpler, a slightly cooler summer. One summer where the snow didn't completely melt. So that leftover snow made it easier for more snow to accumulate next winter, which reflects more sunlight, which makes it cooler, which brings more snow, which reflects more light. A few hundred years later, the entire planet is covered in miles-thick ice. A tiny change compounds into something massive. That's exactly how wealth works. The author shows, if you start investing $50 per month at age 20, for just 10 years, then stop. You'll end up with more money by age 60 than someone who starts at age 30 and invests for 30 years straight. Why? Time. The person who started at 20 had 40 years of compounding. The person who started at 30 had only 30 years. That 1 decade is worth more than 30 years of extra deposits. And here's Warren Buffett. He's worth $84.5 billion. Of that, $84.2 billion came after he turned 50. $81.5 billion came after he qualified for Social Security in his 60s. But the real secret? He's been investing since he was a kid. For 3/4 of a century. Most of his success isn't from being a genius investor. It's from letting his money compound for 70 years. What this means for you? If you're 12th grade and you start building skills now, YouTube, coding, anything, by the time you're 25, you'll be so far ahead of people who start at 25. Not because you're smarter, just because time is magic. That's part 1. 4 big ideas. But wait until you see part 2. We're talking about why buying stuff doesn't make you happy, why freedom matters more than money, why your financial plan needs room for error. Subscribe now. Part 2 drops soon.